Good morning. I hope you are having an absolutely beautiful week so far. I wanted to have a little bit of a girl talk with you this morning, and I wanted to specifically talk about managing emotional eating and the struggles that come along with, food cravings and uncomfortable feelings that pop up that we don't yet know how to manage. And so my job here is going to be to share some of the tricks that I use to help overcome emotional eating, because I can promise you it is a thing, it is doable. So I'm really happy to share that with you guys today. My name is Tanessa Shears. I'm a weight loss coach and personal trainer. I help women learn the tips and strategies to reach their healthy weight and to stop emotional eating. It's possible, I promise. So I'm just going to be sharing this really quick over to the group. If you'll give me 1 second. All right. So if you're not part of our group yet, I would love to invite you to come on over. It's called She Takes Action. It's a community of women that are working towards healthy bodies, healthy minds. And it's the most supportive community. There's women reaching out and asking for help and other women chiming in on their experience. We had a member of the group this week, say, I'm struggling with emotional eating, help. And it was so amazing to see all of these women jump on and say, here's what I've done. I found this works. And one of the best ways you can grow is when you have the support of a community. Because if you're working in a group and you fall down, you have friends and people that care about you generally to pick you back up. Whereas when you're going through the journey on your own, if you fall down, there's nobody to pick you back up. So that's just why I absolutely love this community. But having said that, we are talking today about managing emotional eating. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what emotional eating is to me and how I define it with my clients. So emotional eating is eating in response to an emotion that is strong and uncomfortable. So stress, anger, hurt, disappointment, fear, overwhelm, all of these feelings that come up, the way we think about things really intensifies the feelings in our body. So when we feel these really uncomfortable feelings like disappointment or fear or shame or whatever you're feeling at the moment, what often happens is that feeling coming up in the body is, we'll call it sharp. It is intense and it is painful. And we turn to food. Now, the reason we turn to food is because food has this ability to dull the sharpness of that feeling. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed and you start to eat, do you not notice that that feeling you were feeling is less intense? It is duller, it is quieted. And on top of that, I don't know about you, but the last time I went and had an emotional eating, I didn't go and choose celery. I went and chose something decadent and full of sugar and fats and flours. And the reason for this is that potent condensed sugar and flour combination that you receive in, baked goods and sugars and chips and salt and stuff like that, it causes a release of a neurotransmitter in the brain called dopamine. And dopamine is responsible for all the pleasure that we feel in our body. So if we're feeling uncomfortable and anxious and we eat something, that dopamine release, this feels good, it dulls that sensation of anger, hurt, whatever you're feeling. But here's something that we need to be really clear on right off the bat. Eating, we know, does not solve that problem. It just quiets it temporarily. So as soon as that dopamine effect wears off, that emotion that you were trying to quiet comes back and it's raging, and usually you end up eating again. And so when we eat, when we're emotional, it's usually in a fog, it's uncontrolled, we're not aware of how much we're eating or really even what we're eating. I've spoken with clients who have gone through, they'll make themselves 2 hamburgers, a bag of chips, a box of cookies, and then they'll go and, they'll eat 3 bowls of cereal after that, to the point where they are stuffing themselves to stop that feeling from coming up. So this is what's happening a lot of times in emotional eating. And what we do, and we're well intended when we do things like, I'm not going to bring a box of cereal into the house then. Oh my gosh, it's going to solve my problem, because then when I'm emotional, all I have is healthy food, so I'm not going to overeat. But here's the problem. Removing an unhealthy food from the house does not deal with the problem. Overeating is not the problem. It is a symptom of the problem. And by bulldozing your way through strategies like making healthier swaps or putting the food out of the house, I mean, these are all good steps in addition, but if you are not dealing with the problem, you will never really be free of the desire to overeat. Does that make sense? That desire to numb that feeling. All you're doing is removing the immediate grabbing on it, but it doesn't deal with this. So what you want to do is you want to go and take a step back and ask yourself, all right, well, when I feel this overwhelming feeling and it comes up in my body and it's uncomfortable, what is the thought that I had that triggered that emotion? So if you're feeling, let's say, hurt because someone at work said something to you that made you feel bad about your body. For example, like they said something about what you were wearing and it being, maybe fitting too tight or just something, let's say something like that. That circumstance on its own, we're going to call a neutral circumstance. And if you've, listened to, we've chatted before, you'll know that every circumstance that happens in the universe, everything is neutral. It only has meaning based on what we give it. So if we were to think about what that person said, I'm ugly, people don't think I'm attractive. That thought causes hurt. Hurt causes the action of eating. Eating causes the result of weight gain. Does that make sense? So we want to first look at, we're solving the problem. We're not trying to remove the triggers from the house. I mean, this is a good second step, but this is not how to solve overeating. How you solve overeating is by addressing the emotional issue that's coming up that you are not comfortable experiencing. Number one, you need to figure out what thoughts you are thinking about the circumstances in your lives that are, hey Camilla, the thoughts you are thinking in your life. What are they triggering? What are the thoughts that you are thinking on a regular basis and doing work on changing that? Now, the second thing that we need to be doing is not only understanding why the feelings we have are coming up, but you also need to be able to be okay with being uncomfortable. So the reason you eat is because that feeling of hurt and pain and guilt is so physically uncomfortable that you can't stand that feeling in your body. But I want to just put this in perspective for you here. Emotional eating is essentially eating in response to a vibration in the body. So if we call all the emotions we experience, that anger and guilt, they're vibrations in the body. Now here's the question I genuinely want you to ask yourself. What is the worst thing that could happen if you let that feeling in? So instead of being like, I'm hurt, I don't want to feel hurt, I don't want to feel hurt, I don't want to feel hurt, eat. That's what we usually do. What happens instead, if instead of resisting hurt, you let hurt in and you just experienced what it felt like to be hurt? What would be the worst thing that would happen if you allowed yourself to feel that discomfort that comes up? Because I tell you something, if you are willing to confront and experience any emotion, they no longer have control over you. I mean, as a culture, we are so conditioned to respond to the emotions that we are feeling all the time. Like, we always think that if we feel an emotion, there must be a reaction. If I feel hurt, I must eat. If I feel stressed, I must have wine. That doesn't always need to be the case. If you are able to allow an emotion to come into the body and not react to it, you have so much power over yourself because you can now make decisions from a place that isn't emotional. So that is what emotional eating is. And the best thing you can do is figure out what are the emotions and the thoughts that are causing you to go to food to try to dull those sensations. And then what I want you to do is I want you to, even if it's just a short time, the very first time that emotion comes up, give yourself 2 minutes to sit with that feeling. 2 minutes to let that feeling in. What does it feel like? Where am I feeling it? What am I wanting to do right now? And the first time, if this is something that's new for you, it's going to be really uncomfortable. And if you still choose to eat, I don't want you to beat yourself up for that because this is a learning process. I want you to let that feeling in. So after you have done that, this is a learning process and you extend that. Maybe next time you do 2.5 minutes. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Every time I have done this and I've let that feeling in, and you know I've talked to you guys about this before, I suffered with a past tense, I should say, from generalized anxiety disorder that used to cripple me to the point where I couldn't leave the house. So once I started actually stop resisting the anxiety and let it in. So for example, I'm just going to be really anxious right now, and I'm going to stop trying to say, I don't have time for this, I can't be anxious, I'm just going to be anxious. I cannot tell you how far and few between those experiences are, and the same thing goes for emotional eating. So I'm going to say that. We're going to do part 1, and then I want to do a quick segment on what I have been doing to help with cravings, because that is something that we deal with. What do you do when you're emotional and you're craving chocolate or you're craving chips, or there is something that you literally feel like it's the most irresistible urge and you might fall apart if you don't eat it? You know that feeling? Like, what is your thing? Mine is cookies and glacé raisins. Oh my gosh, I could eat those. That's my jam. If I have a treat, it is those. What is yours? Tell me in the comments below. So when that craving comes on, I want you to first identify that it was a thought. I want you to first identify your brain said, I want cookies. I want cookies. Okay, so that created a feeling in my stomach, and that feeling was a little like flustered maybe, and I'm trying to find out where the cookies are, and I'm getting that feeling in my stomach. Okay, so then I'm going to take the action to go eat. And normally that craving comes up, and you and we do one of two things. We feel a craving and we either resist it. No, I'm not going to eat those cookies. I'm stronger than this. This is what willpower is all about. I can do this, but I have a harsh reality for you. Living in resistance sucks. It is so uncomfortable. I mean, think about this. When you've ever gone through a new food eating plan and you've been on it for 4 or 5 days, and now all of a sudden those cravings start kicking in and you're resisting them because you know you should stick to your plan, that is the most uncomfortable position to be in, and you will never be successful if you will and resist your way to success. I need you to understand this. Resisting cravings will not work long term. You will cave in. So, well, if I'm not going to resist them, well, then I just give in to them. So giving into them is what we think is the other side of the equation. This is what we also do. We're like, okay, well, if I'm not going to say, no, I won't have that, well, maybe I'll just give into it then. So that's our second option. And we think black and white, this or this. There couldn't possibly be another answer. But there is. What that is it's allowing that craving to come in, allowing it to be there, and not reacting. Does that make sense? What does it feel like to have a craving in your body? Like, I want you to really just take a minute and just experience that for a sec. Like, what does it feel like in your body, your physical body, to have a craving? It's uncomfortable. I know I feel mine, a little tightness through here. I feel jittery, maybe like I've had too much coffee. It's in my stomach. And I can tell my salivary glands start picking up. That's what craving feels like for me. So you can either try to say, no, I can't have that, and think thoughts of no, 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 or you give into it. But what I want you to practice doing next time, and again, I want you to use that strategy of practicing it for 2 minutes and then making a decision. And next time you practice for 2.5 minutes and then you make a decision. But let that feeling of that craving come in. Feel the feeling all the way through, and I want you just to sit in it and be okay with being uncomfortable, because there is no feeling you are not willing to feel. There is no, if you can wrap your mind and be open to the possibility of a feeling is not a scary thing. I can feel a feeling. I promise you can get through anything in your life you want. Let that feeling of the craving in and don't react. Just allow it to be there. Allow it, and you know what happens? It passes. It passes. You didn't have to actively resist it. You didn't have to give into it. You allow it to be there and it passes. And if you've never tried this before, you may think this sounds absolutely nuts, but try it. Don't knock it before you try it. So I'm going to, my clients always think I'm crazy, and I'm okay with that because I love trying things. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing this week to practice this. So I have planned treats, which means I never give in to cravings. That does not mean I don't have indulgent food. What that means is the indulgent food that I eat is planned. So for me, my boyfriend and I, we have Fridays off together. So what I do is I plan my treat nights with him. And they are Friday nights, and I already know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some glacé raisins because that's Friday nights, and that's what we do. And I actually can tell you a secret because he'll never see this because he doesn't watch these. I choose glacé raisins because he hates them, and then I don't have to share. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever kind of bought something, and then when you found out someone you're with doesn't like it, you're like, yes. That's what I do. So those are that's partly why. And the other one, I get jelly beans. He doesn't like jelly beans either. But I had them on Friday night, and I followed my 2 to 2. I ate I ate my treats until I was satisfied. And then here's what I did, and this has been work for me all week. I took all the extra treats that I did not finish, because I don't have to finish them. I put them in a container, and I put them in the freezer. So in my freezer right now is sitting a plastic Tupperware container of my favorite treats. And I can tell you, I've had some stress come up during the week, and my thought goes to, oh, I should really just have a couple. I deserve it. I did so much work today. I was so productive. Do you know those days where you're just like, I think, you know what, I deserve this wine. I really deserve this wine. So I have been keeping those there on purpose to practice dealing with cravings. I know that sounds weird, right? Putting something in my house to practice managing my insides. This is something that after you've gone through that craving exercise I just talked to you about, after you've gone through it a couple times and you're getting the hang of it, and you're understanding what it feels like to feel uncomfortable and be okay with it, what I'm then going to have you do is maybe try having something in the house that might be potentially a danger food for you, or a red light food, something that you might lose control over sometimes. And I want you to just practice having it there, feeling the craving, not resisting, not giving in, allowing it to be in there, and not reacting to that emotion. Making a decision not to react. And you know what the greatest thing is? When you do that over and over again, it's just like if you go to the gym and you do bicep curls, your biceps get stronger, as does your ability to deal with cravings. You need to practice this skill. It is not going to be easy the first time. It is going to be uncomfortable. You will probably fail a whole bunch of times, but you are 100% capable of trying again until it works. So that's what I have. I just wanted to chit chat with you guys today on, managing emotional eating. It's coming up in my She Takes Action group on a regular basis. And so I thought I'd just film this to help you understand my process, and that emotional eating is not about treating the symptoms and getting the foods out of the house and picking the best recipes, because I'm going to tell you something. You can overeat on healthy food. Does that make sense? Just because you are cooking healthy food does not mean you're still not overeating and going over your calories. You can still gain weight eating healthy if you eat too much of it. So this is about learning to manage your emotional state so you stop desiring to overeat in the first place. So I hope that's been helpful. I'd love you to leave a comment and let me know either what you're struggling with in regards to emotional eating, or what you took from this. And if this really resonated with you, I would be honored for you to share it with someone that you know this will impact, or someone you know is struggling, or invite someone into this group to get the support that we have here. You guys, I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you guys over inside my She Takes Action Facebook group. Have a beautiful day.